I never get tired of talking about that. And I've just, since we got on that last night, it was kind of just rolling over in me all day today, and I just kept on thinking about it. And I talk about it all the time. I feel like maybe y'all know everything about it that I know probably, but I was thinking, I meet people all the time and talk to people all the time, especially religious people, and they know what I kind of stand for and what I believe in, what I preach, and so that they'll get any kind of, somebody ask me something about that or whatever, they get all defensive, and they always say this, they'll say, now, because I say righteousness is a gift, right? Mm-hmm. What is the definition of righteousness? I would say one way of understanding would be in being in the state of having no sin. Being in the state of having no sin, and so that it's a gift, and they'll say, now wait a minute here, fear would say, now wait, you can't just tell people that, because if they believe that, then you're saying that it just don't even matter if they go and sin or not, then they'll just go sin more. Right? That's what fear would say. Y'all have heard that, right? And so I was thinking about that today, and I hear that all the time and all this, and it's like he told me, he said, that's about the equivalent of if I gave you $1 trillion, trillion, I didn't say million or billion, trillion, I received $1 trillion, and I also gave you the heart and the wisdom to handle it, it would be like saying, now that is going to cause you more poverty. How ridiculous does that sound? It's the same equivalency. By giving us the gift of righteousness and a new heart and the wisdom to handle it, to know what it is and to understand it. Now that's going to cause more sin? I mean, how ridiculous. I just was saying that while you was getting your question warmed up, working up your nerve, right? All right, let's have it. Let's have it. Who's got something? There's no dumb questions. What does praise and worship look like to me? As a one unit thing you're saying, or two different deals, or praise and worship to me. Now I'm different. Me, I'm different than I'm goofy, I'm not like anybody. So his question was, what does praise and worship look like to me? To me, let me define what it's been stereotyped as before I go into that, as what we would say we have here, okay, come in here at 7 and these guys play and sing and we have a time of praise and worship, right? We've been taught that and grown. I'm not saying that's wrong, all right? I'm not saying that's wrong at all. That's a good time and important and has a purpose as well. But really, to define it for me, praise and worship is more of not just I can't wait to get here at 7 o'clock and we all get together and see who raises their hands and something, And to me, Jeff says it all the time, praise and worship is like, how do you say that? Where did he go? Say that saying you say all the time, imitation is the highest form of flattery. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. To me, the ultimate praise for someone would be, I want to model my life after you. I want to follow you. I want to become like you. You're my idol. You're my hero. I'm infatuated with you almost. And then living out of that frame of mind or state of heart, or wow, it's not, to me, I'm laid back. I'm not flamboyant. I'm not an attention getter. I'm not the standout person. If you guys know me here, but if you really know me, I'm pretty boring. I mean, I was a good horse trainer, and the reason I'm a good horse trainer because my emotions and my blood pressure and this is not up and down. I'm the same every time, all the time, steady. And if you spend enough time, them horses, if they spend enough time with me, they start becoming like me. If they're wild and stressed out and got all these problems, right? If I spend enough time with them, all that goes away and they start becoming like me. Right? So I'm not flamboyant and outgoing. And I don't have any personality. So it's not my thing to be down here doing cartwheels and and if that's your thing, fine. I'm not telling you that's wrong or what, any of that. I do wish Jeff sometime would learn that song Happy Feet. You got that learned yet?
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Happy Dance.
We're going, Happy Dance, Happy Feet. That's a movie or something. Happy Dance, yeah. We're going to shake this place sometime and get that going. But I just say the question is, what does it look like to me? It's just living every moment of every day in awe of who He is.
Amen.
And so much awe that I just can't take my eyes or my heart off of Him and want to be like Him and want everything that He wants for me, and just living in that spot to where our hearts become one now. My desires are His desires. Our hearts are one. What He wants is now what I want. What He loves is now what I love. When He wants people healed, I want people healed because He wants people healed. That's not something I came up with. That's not my invention. It's His heart. And so we just grow up as in one and living in that place all the time, every day. I mean, to me, that's praise and worship.
It's good stuff. Yes.
I don't wait till certain time of the day to walk up to Rachel and say, "Oh, thou reverend Rachel, I'm so glad to take this moment to praise you." And think. No, it's all the time, constant. I mean, ongoing, never cuts off. It's like being on a phone call that you never hang up from. It's just living in that place. Not saying the other's wrong. It's part of it, fine. If that, I don't know. I'm not one to teach on praise and worship because I'm different. I don't know. But that's a good question. Any questions out of that answer? Or?
Some people don't know praise from derogatory. I heard a man one time trying to downgrade a person by saying, "Oh, he's just a Jesus freak." To the man that he said it about, it was praise.
By calling him a Jesus freak,
Right.
He's actually complimenting him.
He was actually complimenting the man, but he didn't say it in a complimentary manner.
Right, yeah. I've probably had some of that before. Yeah. All right, who else? Okay, the question is, do I feel that there's a difference in praise and worship individually and personally than corporately? I do, sure, absolutely. But if you have it corporately without the individually, it's religious and fake. Is that fair? I mean, or I could say it could be learned behavior. Learned behavior. And again, I'm not being critical or saying it was wrong. If you want to gather up and do whatever you want to do, great. But I'll say it again. The question was, is there a difference between individual personal praise and worship and corporate praise and worship? Like when we all come together in here and we sing and we do all this stuff. Absolutely, there is power in this. I do not in any way want to say I'm minimizing this or lessening this. But what would happen if the majority of us here don't have the personal and the intimate and the individual, and then we all come in here and we just tap in on Jeff's? You know, Jeff has it, and so he gets up here and sing, and we all just kind of tap into his and sit here and say, boy, he's really got it, don't he? You know, and we get the goosebump once in a while and think, ooh, that's been pretty good stuff, you know. But if we all had spent all day, every day in that place, individually and personally, intimately, and then we all came in here together in that place, it's like every one of us having a little candle, and when we all get in here, now we've got a fire. You know, powerful when this group of people come together in one heart and one accord, in one frame of mind and focus. Does that answer your question? Oh, you know already. Does that make sense? Not to say that everybody has to be on their A game every time we show up either, you know. I mean, that's part of it is too, is when you're up, I'm down, and when I'm down, you're up, and we come in here, and there's rest in here, because we can hold each other up, and you can lay stuff down while you're here. Hopefully you lay it down and leave it, but the reality of it is we don't always lay stuff down and leave it. But you can lay it down for a little while you're here, because when we're together, we're stronger, and we're helping each other hold stuff up, and we're giving each other rest, and you can come. This ought to be a safe place. This ought to be a restful place. This ought to be a place of healing, and not show up and be like, singing that song again, and so-and-so's wearing that, and they do this, and it's too hot, too cold, and music's too loud, and it, you know.
Amen. Well, I was just going to add to that the church, I think, is mistakenly taught that it's an occurrence or an event. That's what praise and worship is, and it's really not. It's really a relationship.
Right. Praise and worship, saying like it's not an event, or it's not a set out time. It's really, I would say like this, it's more of a lifestyle. More of a lifestyle. More of a state of living. You know. It's an attitude almost.
Jace, the chaplain at the Marion Federal Pen called me in the other day and asked me this very question. And I said, praise is an immediate response to an emotion. Worship is a lifestyle. Like you said, the imitation, the flattery. Praise is just a response. I feel the goosebump response, you know. And, but worship is when that becomes the center. That becomes what you're after and what you do. It's all you seek. All these Elvis guys go to Vegas, you know what I mean? That's worship. That's people worship there. And that, as you said, we should do the same thing. We should seek our lives to turn where when people look at us, they see Christ instead of seeing us.
I would even go further to say he's so wise and he's so smart that he doesn't get offended. God's not offended. And so I would say, you know, does he sit there and say, you know, I mean, how much he loves us? It's just crazy how much he loves us, because he's not sitting there thinking, you know, are they ever going to get it figured out? You know, he's saying, if they don't have praise and worship figured out, it's for this simple reason. They just don't have a clear perception of who I am and what I'm like yet.
Right.
Regardless of whether their behavior, their right behavior, their wrong behavior, whatever else, in His wisdom, He's sitting there thinking, you know, they they wouldn't have this going on, or they wouldn't have that problem, or they wouldn't have this or that if they just had understanding. And I'm doing everything I can to get that understanding to them, and I'm not stressed out over it. If they could see what I see, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, or not doing what they're not doing. I say, if we could really, and it's what we do here, it's my goal, if we can unveil who He really is and what He's really like, and experience that and see that, you don't have to teach somebody to praise and worship.
Right.
You know, I don't want to learn it anyway.
Right.
I'd like to come to a pure place, like, I don't know, if they go overseas in these places and walk up in the jungle and here's a village that's never seen an outside man, and they saw God. That's pure right there. If you've never been in church before, if you've never heard Christian music before, and they start singing something you believed in, would you raise your hand? If you never saw anybody raise their hand before? Right? Or would you stand? Or would you... see, we got a lot of learned stuff that we do. And again, I'm not being critical. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying, I don't care what you do. It's here. It's here. And if it's here, doesn't matter where you are or if the organ's playing. You know, there'd be cows bawling. It's where David became David. David was a praiser and worshiper, and he's out there with the sheep, and you know, it's just good. I'm the least likely guy to be talking about this right here, so that's good. I'm glad you did that. My best advice for young people bringing up kids, raising kids in the grace message, trying to keep them out of religion. When I learn that, I'll let you know. No, I'm kidding. You know, the most general way I can say that is, and the best piece of advice I would say to that is live it in front of them. Live it in front of them. Be real, because whatever you know, they're watching. They're not going to do what you say.
Right.
They're going to do what you do.
Right.
And the biggest thing you can do is go head over heels and follow and chase after God and run Him down the best you can, and let Him love you and affect your life and do all that He can do, and learn to grow in it and love in it and have grace. That grace that we all receive, have that for yourself. And be willing to be wrong. And be willing for them to see you be wrong. And it's alright you admit to be wrong, because none of us got it, you know. Just love. Just love. Teach them to love. Live loved. The biggest piece of advice I could give, no matter what your question is, would be this right here. 2 words. Live loved. Live loved. Loved. As you live loved, that handles everything you'll ever come up against. Because what's in that is forgiveness, patience, I mean everything that you'll need. And if they see you living in it, they'll get it. And don't go on, even in the grace message and all that we've learned. We can still get religious. Because now we say, okay, we got this grace message and everybody's watching us. Now we've put a standard on ourselves. Now my kids got to be perfect, or else I'll tarnish the message. Right? Don't go back under the standards.
Good. Good.
We live in grace and mercy. You know why? Because we need grace and mercy.
Amen. Every day.
Just live love. Don't sweat the small stuff. That's good. That boy be all right. Now why did that come out?
Janice,
I do not know that that's a boy, but
I
that
found out today, what I didn't find out, it's in an envelope, and Janice is the only one who has the envelope. So as of right now, until she
baby
opens it,
reveal.
no one knows.
I don't know. Maybe I just spoiled it, but.
But everyone keeps saying, well,
All right. Anybody else? All done? Don't miss out. I like this. I like questions. I'd rather live in it than have some prepared sermon. You know. Yes, sir.
How would you minister to somebody who had lost a grandchild and was blaming God?
How would I minister to somebody that's lost a grandchild that's blaming God? Depend partly on the instance and you know who they are, but mostly depend on what their question would be. If they're asking me why, then I would use the word. I would use this to break down their wrong believing in a nice, non-critical way, obviously, in a kind and loving way, to say, look, we've believed a lot of stuff about God and we've blamed a lot of stuff about God. But nowhere in the Bible does it say that God's taken our grandchildren. The fact is that there's one that is a thief, and it's not God. You know, religion's taught us a lot of stuff. Oh, the Lord gives and takes away. Well, that's in the Bible, yes, but it's a lie. You know.
Right.
Job and his ignorant friends came up with our doctrines anymore, and they were the worst ones, so I don't have all the answers to all that stuff, but we do live in a fallen world with still a lot of the repercussions. Why did things like that happen? I still don't know all those answers. All that I know is He has grace to get us through, but He's not the one orchestrating all this evil that goes on, all this thieving and all this stuff that goes on. He's not to blame for it. There's an enemy that runs loose in this earth and tries to steal, kill, and destroy all he can get. And because we've not understood a lot and how to resist that and overcome that, he's landed a few blows, So. Right. Right. Right.
Heaven is right. Well, most of us is not telling us what hell we're going to be like.
Tom's saying, I know you can't hear him, but, you know, to minister to anybody that's had lost loved ones, not just a grandchild or whatever, would be to have an understanding of what heaven really is, you know, and religion's done a terrible job of understanding that. We know more about hell than we do heaven, probably. But I would say it's also an indicator of, do we really believe what we believe? If we really believe what we believe about heaven and about life with God, and we did lose someone, should we be grieving?
Nope,
Or should we be having a party?
having a party, celebrating.
I mean, I know that's on the verge of being insensitive, and I don't mean it to be that way. But, right, sure, and it's okay. We miss somebody that's in our lives, and we love them and don't get to wake up and drink coffee with them every morning or something like that. I understand. I'm not being that hard, all right? But I'm saying, if we really understand what's happening in heaven, Tom said, if we really had a glimpse or a grasp of what it's like to actually be in the ultimate presence of God, looking at Jesus face to face, ask them if they want to come back. They'll say, see you after a while. I'm staying here. You know, why? It's the best. It's the best.